Hello, I'm Dee Fowler, Superintendent of Madison City Schools. We know the shade that we enjoy from trees wouldn't be possible if someone hadn't planted those trees years before. Today, Madison City Schools celebrates 15 years because someone took the initiative to plant the seeds. And just like the branches on the trees, it takes many people to strengthen our school system to help it grow and bear good fruit. We hope this video brings an appreciation to the Johnny Appleseeds in our community whose vision, determination, and hard work sprouted one of the finest school systems in America.
Madison was just booming with growth. I mean, incredible growth, and it's just hard to keep up with it. We'd just been through the annexation battle with Huntsville. We had water issues, and our schools were just not what the new generation in Madison expected. They were overcrowded, we had portables, and a major factor was we weren't able to structure our education to meet the needs of the citizens of the city. We were part of a big system that had common standards across, and so there was a lot of frustration.
Madison wanted a top-notch education system that a countywide school system simply couldn't provide.
And it goes back to about 1983-84. Significant economic development thing of that time was the fact that Bowen was opening a new plant here, moving people from Wichita, Kansas to Huntsville. There was a lot of effort by other communities around here to get those new residents to live in places like Decatur and other communities around here because of the school system. The condition of the schools was not very good in the county, and Madison schools were part of the county system at that time.
Several tax measures failed either in the legislature or at the ballot box, despite strong support in Madison. A county sales tax was one such casualty.
It went to a referendum, and the lowest box in my district was 58% for the tax. The people on the west side of the county were very in tune to what education meant for the future, and they supported that revenue for the schools to improve them. And then in 1990, we had continued to grow in Madison so much that there was another need for a millage rate increase for all the county schools. We put that on the ballot. That was in 1990. Significant about that was I had opposition at the ballot too, but I thought that measure was so important. We wanted to give the people an opportunity to speak. Speak they did, and they killed that tax.
That defeat was the final straw that led Madison to take control of its own destiny.
The community knew we had problems, the city government knew we had problems. I remember getting a call from Mike Price, one of the council members, and somehow there were a bunch of people who gathered around kitchen tables and living rooms, and we met regularly. And out of that group, people came and went, and ultimately 5 of us carried forward for a year, studying, researching. It was myself, Hersey Toney, Valerie McLaughlin, Verna Wilkerson, and Kim Whitworth. And we talked to experts at the state level. We got legal advice, we got enrollment data and financial data. And in the early part of 1991, we announced a big public hearing to brief the results. And 300 plus people showed up at City Hall. I think it shocked the community because it wasn't a well-publicized group or study, and a lot of interest got generated.
Opinion was divided on whether to break free from the county system.
Well, that was the recommendation of the original committee, was to form a system, to pass a new tax and form a system. And the city, just because it was new and unexpected, wasn't ready for that. So they established the Madison Education Committee as the official city education group, and really, I guess the first of the 5 of us were the first appointees, and then they expanded it.
Parents came out in droves to turn their frustration into activism.
You know, the City Council had just passed the resolution to get the 11 Mills property tax onto the ballot. So we had a special election. I can't remember the exact time frame, but we had at least 6 months probably that we had to get a move on and get out there and drum up support for that. That's what we've been asking for as citizens, as PTA moms out there, as business leaders in the community. We've been asking to get this on the ballot. Finally, here it was. So we had to get moving. There was a steering committee, the Citizens for the Approval of School Tax. There were about 10 of us, all very grassroots. This was the definition of a grassroots campaign. We had a couple of business people on it. There were some clergy on it from Madison. And the rest of us were pretty much just PTA type moms that were quite honestly scared to death.
Odds against passing the tax motivated them to try that much harder. Volunteers worked car lines, posted yard signs, stuffed book bags. No stone was left unturned.
Well, you know, there had not been one passed in many, many, many years in Alabama. And there were many people that told us it couldn't be done. But as I mentioned, we were operating out of fear. We knew that our schools were tremendously overcrowded, like nothing anyone that lives here in Madison now has ever seen. We had portables all over our campuses. But we also knew that at the time, the county system had needs of its own. There was growth in other areas of the county, nothing quite like Madison, but there were needs out there, and there was no way they were going to get to us in time before it became a crisis situation out here.
The PTA was vital in the beginning because at that time there was no Notify Me, really very few home computers, certainly not any email, and so PTA was key to getting out to the families of the students, just to get out in the public at all. So the PTAs were totally vital. The boots on the ground the whole way. At that time, there were only 4 schools in the beginning. There was West Madison, which was kindergarten and first, Madison, which was second, third, and fourth, Liberty, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and Bob Jones, which was then on the Discovery campus, was 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we had 4 PTAs heavily involved in the very beginning. Parents, PTA volunteers stood in car line. We stuffed book bags. Of course, the first key to the entire process was getting the 11 mil tax passed. Without that, we had no bargaining chip at all.
The town of Triana partnered with Madison to improve Madison schools.
The town of Triana and the city of Madison have always partnered together when it came to education, because we are very concerned about our children. And we had no problems whatsoever. When we started meeting with the city of Madison and we knew that we had to pass the 9 mil taxes, our people had no problems with that. The residents just automatically passed it.
Well, I think after a very long, hard battle, which only passed 53 to 47%, and many of us collapsed in tears at the end of that night. Remember, too, at the time, we all had little children. This wasn't like we had kids that were driving. We all had little children that spent many, many nights probably in this very room, in their sleeping bags at the back of the room while we attended meetings and planned strategies for going door to door.
We continued to do studies. We did pass the tax. We split the cost of schools with the county. That's where Bob Jones and Horizon came from. And then when it was time for another elementary school, we funded all of Heritage.
Strictly with city money?
With that 11 mil property tax. We did a follow-on study with Regional Research in '97 that said, guess what? You can now afford to form your own school system. And we moved pretty fast after that.
The tax brought instant results. School construction sprouted like kudzu, bringing badly needed improvements to county schools that served Madison.
I mean, it was almost instantaneously that you know, bricks and mortars were flying then. So then in '96, '97, when the Madison Education Committee had the next round of studies done to see what it actually would take to form our own school system, we had a couple years under our belt where we had great results that we could show, literally driving up and down Hughes Road and down Old Madison Pike, of things that we were able to accomplish because we'd passed that 11 mills property tax. From there, it was easy to start up discussions again on maybe we ought to think about forming our own school system. This worked, let's see what it'll take. And I think from the citizens' standpoint, we'd proven that as a city we were good stewards of their educational dollars because we were able to put it to use quickly.
We worked all through '97. We had a consultant out of Birmingham who really helped us out, and we ended up, Sue Helms, who was on the County Board of Education representing the Madison District at that time, she was a big part of it. And basically what we did was just move forward into the formation of the school board and the hiring of the first superintendent.
Well, Woody Sanderson and Sally Warden and I went down to Montgomery to meet with the superintendent and laid out what we were intending to do with a school system. And my impression was one of skepticism. He gave us a 13 March date to have everything done and filed. And the impression was he didn't think we could do it.
We had some problems with the state school board, and basically we were fighting on our own to put the thing together. And because, as I recall, Madison had approximately 25% of the students in Madison County, but they were paying over 40% of the taxes. And we actually formed a school system, and according to the state superintendent at that time, we were the first school system to form that didn't have to borrow money.
Working out a separation agreement was a colossal task involving reams of legal, financial, and operational challenges.
2 council members, Sally Warden and Marc Jacobson and I, went to visit with Dr. Richardson, then the state superintendent of education. And he probably deflated us quite a bit, to be honest about it, because we went in there thinking, we knew what we needed to do, and we'll have this set up and we'll be good to go for opening in August of 1998. And he just outlined all of the hurdles that we had to get over. And while we were thinking we had till the summer to do a lot of this, he backed into some time frames that basically here, and I think that meeting occurred in early November of 1997, informed us that we had to have a separation agreement worked out with the county by the middle of March.
It was just a few months, and so we were on a tight schedule to interview 46 school board candidates and narrow it down to 5. Have them pick a superintendent, negotiate with the county system over all the resources, annex Liberty, the property that Liberty sits on.
When the school board gets named, literally they met no less than once a week. And they were unpaid, meeting for long hours, figuring all this out. We pretty quickly, by mid to late November, I think, got initial meetings set up with the county school board and started down that path.
A huge issue was several $1 million in the county school system's budget that Madison claimed was theirs.
We ultimately lost that battle effectively. It was one of those decisions you had to make. We thought we had some legal basis in the statutes and the law that would have supported us if we had challenged on that issue. But remember the time frame we're under, and we wanted to open by August 1998, and it became readily apparent that if we went down and fought in these litigious kind of battles, that was just not going to happen.
Madison also faced Justice Department hurdles if creating a separate system would have cut off Triana.
If they were not to be allowed to continue to attend once we had our own city school system, they would have had to be transported through Madison to Monrovia and on to Sparkman, which in Sparkman then was even farther north. It was quite a ride for them, and it just didn't make a lot of sense.
Well, our children would have been bused, and they would have had to go to Monrovia, Sparkman, and we didn't want that for our children. Why pass? We've been there. Why pass schools and go to another school and still be ride a bus for 1 hour? We didn't want that for our children.
And so, in the fall of 1998, the Madison City School System was born. Those who planted the seeds now beam with pride, seeing what the system has become.
The ribbon cutting, anytime I talk about our city system, I guess the term's burst with pride. People talk about moving here because of our schools, and it's just the best thing that we could have ever done as a city.
It was about like birthing a baby, and we often said when we finally formed the school system, we were giving our baby away, but we gave it away into very good hands, but that's exactly what we felt like, to be able to see it from start to finish.
It was the best decision that the city officials and the residents of Triana could have made. And I think that the relationship that we have with the city of Madison and the city school is excellent.
The Madison City system stands out. In a very short period of time, we have gone to 0 to 60 in just a few seconds.
It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing.
I would attribute that to the citizens that live here. They're willing to bite the bullet and invest in the future.
But it's a strong school system because of our administration, because of our students. We've got wonderful, wonderful students, and it's all come together, and it's something that we should all be very proud of.
Both the initial effort and the tax vote were true grassroots activities. I mean, unbelievable. And I think it's real important that this community knows its history and what it's capable of doing, because someday we may need to do it again. And of any community that I know, this community will support education.